Lloyd Vance's Insider Football is back for another week here on the Coastal Sports Digital Network and SR 1029 The Game. So glad everybody could be with this evening. Lloyd Vance, veteran insider and report around the league. I have my tag team partner Kevin Midgette with me. How you doing, Kevin?
Doing better than most people in the Philadelphia area. I'll put it that way.
Well, let's start. It was Thanksgiving week. Did you eat all the stuff you thought you would? That sage stuffing. I was thinking about it all week. How did it go?
Didn't stand a chance, Lloyd. The leftovers left. The Tupperware is still shaking how aggressive I was with it.
It's funny. I took Nate back to school. He was home for break, and he's like, "All right, I ate too much. I got to take I got to take a break from, you know, all the pie and stuffing, macaroni and cheese." But we had the food fest. I mean, it was just tremendous. Lots of games over the what was it 4 day span of games, and we still have one left. We'll go over that one in a minute. But do you like having 3 games, Thanksgiving and then the Black Friday game? Of course, the result, we'll go over that. But how did you like that? Did you like it all spread out? Because Sunday kind of there were some light spots, especially in the late afternoon thing in some of those games.
Yeah, I definitely love the 3 games on Thanksgiving. I think it was around 2005 ish that they started doing the 3 games. And it was always anticlimactic because Detroit always stunk. So, that's when you were hoping you were eating dinner during the Detroit game. Then you get something for Dallas, and then you're done with the family and there's nothing to do. So it's just like, except when you were younger, you'd go out and meet your friends from college and stuff like that. As an older person, it's like, I need that other game, man. I need something to kill the rest of my day here. So yeah, the third game I love. All 3 games were entertaining for me in a certain way because I hit a 3 leg parlay, just throwing it out there.
Oh wow! I
But at
think
the same time,
yeah,
go ahead.
you were good on your picks. My picks for Thursday were terrible. I got all 3 games wrong, and Nate wouldn't let me forget it.
Yeah, it's like the 3 games I'm all on board on that. The Black Friday game's unnecessary. I just think that's a push for it's for the Vegas people. It's for the betting. It's on Amazon Prime to begin with, and it's just that's done for, self satisfaction for the league and the gamblers that be.
Yeah, it was interesting because the game was here locally in Philadelphia where I am, and I know a lot of people were going out to tailgate and all that, and it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But yeah, I think why not leave Friday for college football? That was always the start of the big rivalry weekend, and you'd have like the Egg Bowl with Ole Miss against Mississippi State and a bunch of other games. But it was a game. It was entertaining, and we'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, it was something else. And we'll start live and local, Kevin. So the Black Friday game was here in Philadelphia. The Chicago Bears, now 9-3. They ran all over the Philadelphia Eagles, who are fall to 8-4, 24-15. I think the score was not as close as it was when you start looking at the stats and how people are feeling in this area about the Philadelphia Eagles. But the Eagles were a 7-point favorite in this game. They lose outright. Uh, the Bears just ran all over him, Kevin. Ran for 281 yards on the Philadelphia Eagles, held the ball for 39 minutes. And that 281 is the 8th worst rush defense performance in Philadelphia Eagles history.
Yeah, I mean, you would think they had Walter Payton back there, the way they were gashing him left and right. They couldn't stop anything. It was it was a bad game. It was a cold, windy day as well for those who were in the stands for that game, and it's just a poor performance from a team that hasn't played well in over a month now, and we're seeing that.
Yes, and I was before you came on. I was talking to Duncan, our producer, about should Eagles fans be worried about the Dallas Cowboys catching the Philadelphia Eagles? They beat them, you know, less than a week ago. They beat them that Sunday, and then the Eagles lose to Chicago. Now Dallas is at 6-5-1. The Eagles at 8-4. So I think that's like a game and a half lead. Should people start looking at the box scores and worrying about the Eagles collapsing and Dallas overtaking them for the NFC East?
I tell you what, if you're worried about the Dallas Cowboys, your team stinks. That's what it is. It's not that the Dallas Cowboys aren't playing well. It's an epic choke on your behalf. You know, the fact that you had this much of a lead and you're worried about the Dallas Cowboys coming up and catching you as poorly as they played for the better part of this year. You have other issues than the Dallas Cowboys. That's when heads start to roll at that point in the Philadelphia, clubhouse and with the front office as well.
Yeah, and there's a lot to go over, and we'll hit it from all angles in terms of this game. Now, the Eagles, you start looking at the schedule ahead. So they're at the Chargers. That, I believe, is next Monday night. We'll preview that game. Then they have Vegas. That's in Philadelphia, at Washington, who seems to be playing a little bit more competitive, and Jaden Daniels coming back, at Buffalo, Washington. So handicap that next stretch. Was that 5 games? Where do you see the Eagles in terms of those 5 games? Because everybody's saying, well, if they go 2-3 and Dallas wins out, they'll be in trouble.
What has Dallas shown you that they're going to win out? The fact they won 2 games at home against the teams that were in the Super Bowl last year. Kansas City's not what it was last year. This Eagles team, they caught them, although they should have beat the Eagles twice this year. They caught the Eagles going through, spinning around the bottom of the drain right now. We don't even know what we have with this Eagles team. So Dallas isn't the biggest world beaters in the world, okay? Get them out of that stadium and let's see how they do on the road, first of all. And I mean, yeah, can Dallas do it? Sure. I mean, Washington is playing more competitive right now. Now, what you're looking at is that last game of the season against Washington actually might mean something now.
Yes, and when you look at the Cowboys schedule, they have a huge game. I think it's Thursday night at Detroit. So we're really going to find out for real if they can go on the road and get it done. And as you said, they play so much different at the Jerry World. Uh, Detroit's kind of beat up. We'll preview that game. Then they have Minnesota, who's just they're falling apart real quick. Then they have the Chargers at Washington, and then they finish the season at the New York Giants. So I still believe that the Eagles will hold on. They'll be the first team to win back-to-back NFC East titles since 2004 05. So it'd be first time in 20 years. But there's a lot to digest with the Eagles, and I was on a couple other shows today talking about the team. Everybody wants to blame somebody, Kevin. So I'll go to you. As one of our resident guys here. What needs to be fixed the most? Is it Kevin Patullo? Because I'm getting all kinds of social media posts and little memes saying fire this guy. Is it Jalen Hurts, who we'll talk about him in a minute? Um, Offensive line, or is this defense just not what we thought it was going to be?
Uh, uh, all the above. I mean, you look at they can't run the ball. It's obvious they can't run the ball. They can't do anything. The time of possession in that game with the Bears was basically Bears had the ball for 39 minutes and change. The Eagles had the ball for 20 minutes and change. So it was like 40-20 basically split. You can't win games doing that. The Bears, like we said, were just gashing them. They were owning the clock on them. Jalen Hurts is having issues. The happiest guy in that locker room is AJ Brown. He got 2 touchdowns. Hey, let's hear it for AJ. He had a great thanks our day after Thanksgiving, I should say. That is going with the fact with Kevin Patullo, who's he's the elephant in the room. He's not even the elephant in the room. Everyone's talking. But the thing is, he was not qualified for this job. That's bottom line. And the fact that they're still riding with him at this point, it's like admit you made a mistake. This wasn't the guy. You should have cut your losses early and moved on to somebody else. So now they're stuck with him if they don't do anything. And it's going to fall on Nick Sirianni as well with this.
Yes, and it's this late in the season. It's hard to make adjustments, and you can't make wholesale changes with a team when they're only mostly doing walkthroughs and practice. They're not doing 7-on-7s and full, tear down of their game plan that they went over all the way back in training camp. So there's not a lot that schematically that they could change. And I do agree with you that Sirianni's kind of cutting off his nose to spite his face in terms of Patullo. Patullo just is not getting it done. Um, I don't know, bringing in a consultant like they did with Patricia a couple of years ago in the defense, you saw that worked out anyway. That's not probably the answer. It's probably, to me, it falls on Sirianni. This is his guy.
Mhm.
He's going to bat for him over and over again, and he's like, no, we're not changing it. We're not changing it. And he's stubborn, and I think he's very smug. given that he won the Super Bowl last year to his credit, and the Eagles were one of the top teams, but every season's different. And when you look at their offense, in terms of X's and O's, it's very basic. A lot of guys I've talked to around the league have said defenses are deducing it very quickly. They pretty much know what's going on before it happens. And do you think that Nick will wise up and make a change, or it's going to be the same old thing, and then it may come to a head in the off season, kind of like what happened with Doug Peterson?
No, I think Nick's kind of a dumbass. I'm not going to lie about it. I mean, I think he's that guy where it's like everyone made fun of him, and he's like, "I showed you. I went to 2 Super Bowls and I won one." So he's just going to keep doing what he's doing because he's used to everyone questioning what he does. But this might be the one time Nick is it's going to backfire and blow up in his face. And as much as they used to say, Stoutland, you, we can put anybody there and we're going to have running backs, you get yards. It's not happening this year. They cannot move the ball going that way.
Yes, in terms of offensive line, they've only had that group that started game one together for one game. There's always been some kind of injuries or something going on with this group that they've had to have multiple offensive line lineups, and that cohesiveness is just not there. Right now, Lane Johnson is out, and that's a big factor for the Eagles because they always seem to have problems when he's not playing in the game. So I agree with you. Up front, they have some problems, and that Nick probably is just going to ride this thing out, see how it works out, lean on his past success, and try to get to the playoffs and see what happens. But when you look at this game, though, in terms of looking at the stats, Kyle Monange, I don't know if you had him in fantasy or someone, 22 rushes, 130. DeAndre Swift gets his revenge against the Eagles, 18 rushes for 125. And then Caleb Williams, the numbers aren't pretty, Kevin, but he got the W, 17 to 36, 154. He had one touchdown, one interception, but he really didn't have to do a lot in this game.
You know what would kill me if it was the NFC Championship game and it was Sam Darnold against Caleb Williams. I'd have to bury all my USC, hatred for that. It was like that would be the one that would give me the biggest, burn. Uh yeah, it's, the whole thing is, and I did have Monangai maybe a month ago. I picked him up for a week just to see, pick up somebody's backup running back. I'm like, an extra spot. I'll hold on to him for a week. He didn't do anything. I dropped him. Somebody picks him up, then he kills it. I'm like, that's great, man. Thanks for buying your time. The Bears are impressive. They are very impressive. And they might now, like, we've gone up and down with the surprising teams of the year. Like the Colts were there for a little bit, a couple other teams. Seattle's playing well. But the Chicago Bears, Ben Johnson's in that Mike Vrabel talk now for, coach of the year.
Yeah, he definitely is in line for coach of the year. I don't know if you want that because a lot of the past coach of the years, like Brian Daboll, think about him his first year and they made the playoffs and he's out, So, but yeah, Ben Johnson is definitely in line for that. And if the playoffs started today, the Chicago Bears 9-3 would be the number one seed in NFC. They'd have a bye. Then you have the Rams. We'll talk about them and their situation. The Eagles would be 3 at 8-4. The Bucks hanging around. They're 7-5. They're the Eagles 3, Bucks 4. Seattle, who I think is very dangerous. They're at number 5 at 9-3. Green Bay 8-3-1. Very inconsistent, but a big win for them over Detroit on Thanksgiving. They're at number 6. And number 7, very quietly, are the San Francisco 49ers. 9-4. They have their bye coming up. I know they're very beat up on defense, but they're stringing wins together. And the way Christian McCaffrey's playing, they could be a dangerous team. So that's your NFC playoff picture at this time. But we'll wrap a bow up on the Eagles thing in terms of there's just drama all around this team, Kevin. And I think one of the biggest things is they're just undisciplined. They had 17 penalties for 44 yards. But the two key figures I want to talk to you about in terms of the Eagles, everybody's texting me and calling me about Jalen Hurts. It's time for him to go. One person even was like, put Tanner McKee in the game because Jalen's not getting it done. I don't think that's the answer. But he was 19 to 34, 230, 2 touchdowns. He did throw a rare interception for him. And then the tush push got stuffed. So I'll ask you, what's going on with Jalen Hurts? And should they seriously think about stepping away from him in the off season? I know one crazy fan texted that to me, but what do you think in terms of that?
I think we talked about it before. Am I a Jalen Hurts fan? Not really. I mean, he does a solid job out there. He gets the job done, but it's nothing sexy out there. Has he been to two Super Bowls? Has he played great in two Super Bowls? Yes, he has. So you can't take that away from him. I just don't know if his game's going to change from what it is right now. I think we were all waiting for him to explode, be an MVP type caliber quarterback. No, he's just a winning quarterback. And before the last two games, I want to say I'm roughly around the right area. It was like 27-3, like in his last 30 games, and everyone's trying to run the guy out of town. Who the hell are you bringing in? Tanner McKee? No, you got to be kidding me, man. The one thing you have with Tanner McKee is he's not playing, so he has value. He gets on the field and he stinks. You have no value for Tanner McKee. And as far as the tush push goes, I was listening to Jordan Mailata earlier on the radio, and they were asking, why aren't they having as much success with the tush push? He's like, they're figuring it out. Like when Detroit came out there against them, he's like, they had a tush push unit, like a unit just designed for the tush push. Like these coaches are smart, man. They've had time now to try to analyze this, and that's why it's not as successful, I think, this year.
Yeah, Kevin, that's a great point, and I was going to bring that up. A lot of people I talked to are saying this offense is very basic, and they're running this same pretty much playbook from last season. So they had all off season to deduce this thing. The Eagles, yes, they were dominant in the Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts looked like an MVP in that game, and you just can't say, okay, we're just going to run it back, and we're going to promote a guy who was an offensive assistant, make him the offensive coordinator. It's just not going to work. And you're right. Teams have finally figured out, okay, this is the way we're going to go against this because the Eagles used it so much to their advantage. And now, to the Bears' credit, they were like, all right, attack the football. Just try to rip it out of his hand because he's kind of pushing it out in front and you can probably pull it from him. And that's what they did. So teams are finding ways to stop it. And in terms of Hurts, I just think that they're going to keep him around because, as you said, he is a winner. And if there's some kind of tug of war going, whether it's AJ Brown or it's Petullo and Hurts is going to win this thing. He's in the middle of a 5-year, $255 million contract, 179.3 guaranteed, and he's getting 51 million annually. And he got the first no trade clause in Philadelphia Eagles history. So I don't think he's going anywhere. But what do you think? I think they need to work on running the football effectively with Saquon Barkley and limiting. He should not throw the ball more than about 30 times a game. Maybe even 25 times a game. What do you think about that?
I think one of Jalen's best attributes is he doesn't turn the ball over usually. It's just rare when he does. He's been protecting it for over a year and a half now since that New Orleans game from last year where he threw the bad pick. He's made a conscious effort to do that. And if the Philadelphia Eagles offense is predicated on running the ball, and that sets up the pass. If you can't run the ball, then you're trying to turn this guy, into someone who's going to throw the ball once again 30 to 40 times a game. You're not going to win. He's not built that way. He's built to, work within the offense when it's producing, and they're just not doing it.
Yes, and he threw so well in the Super Bowl, so I think that gave everybody a false sense of reality. And they should lean back on him running the football, not try to be a pass first team, and then go from there. We'll see how they adjust. And I do think that Sirianni is talking to Patullo. He's probably saying, all right, come on, man. You got to fix this thing. We're getting, his home was vandalized. That not that some crazy people they went out there and threw eggs at his home. It's just like, oh man, what is this? All the right moves and they're ripping up the
Exactly.
coach's high school coach's house. I mean, what,
Mm-hmm.
what do you have to say to that? I mean, I know you're not supporting that.
Nah, not at all. I mean, all the right moves was totally the call out. Tom Cruise throw some trash on Craig T. Nelson's yard and everything else. And the Philadelphia fan base, they did it in '93 when Mitch Williams gave up the home run to Joe Carter.
Yes.
There's
Yep.
just no excuse for that, man. That's somebody's house. I mean, we have a bad day at work. Someone doesn't come and egg our house, So it's like, come on, they're human beings. You can't do that.
Yeah. It's just too much. And it, I think that. the Eagles will pull together. I don't think it's the end of the world, but yeah, they're on a 2-game losing streak. Before we close out the Eagles, Saquon Barkley. I mean, in the game against Chicago Bears, 13 rushes, 56 yards. He didn't have any catches in the game. Yards per carry, 4.31. But for the season, 740, and he's only averaging 3.74 yards per game. Is it the groin injury? I mean, what is it with him, and is it something that can be fixed?
I think it was just a lot of touches last year. A lot of touches on a guy who's had injury problems in the past. So henceforth, his body's a little more worn down than someone who would normally be at his age, say if they weren't having injuries. I think it took a toll on him, and we're seeing the evidence of that right now. I tell you how you can remedy it a little bit. Get Tank Bigsby in there, get him about 8 to 9 carries, something like that, so Saquon's a little more fresh when he does get the ball. And that's another thing they're not doing.
Yes, and they got to diversify the offense. And it's on Sirianni. So he's an offensive coach. This is what he's here for, and he'll tell you, very succinctly, this is my team. I'm in charge. Well, get it done. You're in charge. So we'll see how the Philadelphia Eagles go from here. We're here on Lloyd Vance Insider Football on 1029 The Game, Coast Sports Digital Network. I'm here with Kevin Midgette. We're talking all things Week 13, including the Thanksgiving games. We went thoroughly over the Philadelphia Eagles, loss to the Chicago Bears, and now we're going to move on to some of the other teams, and we'll get to your favorite part, lackeys, and all the other great stuff. All right, so like I said, there were games during. We had Thursday, we had Friday, we had Sunday, and we'll have a game on tonight, Monday Night Football. You have the New York Giants. They are trying to get their fourth win, I believe, or something like that. And they're at the New England Patriots, seem to be the hottest team in the National Football League at 9-2. New England's a 7.5 point favorite. It's going to be extremely cold out there. Jackson Dart is going to play for the New York Giants, but I think the Patriots, they found the right mix. They're running the football effectively. Their defense is playing well with Gonzalez and Spillane and the rest of those guys. Vrabel bringing that veteran leadership. I think the Patriots win this one by a field goal. So if you're going to bet it, take the Giants and the 7.5.
I am the biggest New England Patriots fan that does not root for the New England Patriots in the world right now. Not to go to the fantasy realm, Lloyd, but once again, we saw after the show last week, Tet McMillan needed 14 points. He got a touchdown in the third quarter to tease me. He got around 11, didn't catch a pass the rest of the game. So I lost by like 2.8 points.
I was thinking
So
maybe I saw that.
henceforth, yeah, I'm in must-win playoff mode right now. I'm down by 31 points. I have 3 New England Patriots going today, while the other person has nobody. I got Drake May, Travion Henderson, and Stephon Diggs to get me 31 points. It should happen. I hate the projections. It's like 85%. Projections mean squat. How many times I lost with the projections? So I'm going New England with a big blowout win. How about give me that one?
I think you're going to get that. That Travion Henderson is coming along. They gave Stevenson's a lot of carries about a week ago, and I think they're seeing that Travion Henderson is the future at the running back position for them. Their offensive line may be in a little flux. They got Will Campbell out this week, but I think that their McDaniels is hitting all the right notes with that offense, and Drake May playing extremely well. My younger son Braden keeps telling me he's an MVP. I don't know about that yet. I mean, he's in a conversation, but I guess with the way Stafford played this past week, yeah, he should be considered for that. But yeah, I think New England wins this one, and then they jump into that number one spot in the AFC. So we'll see how that one goes after the show. All right, your Thursday started with this was the early game, and it was fun. I put the turkey in. I looked. Like I said, I didn't watch no pregame. We did watch a little parade, but not much. But the Green Bay Packers, they're now 8-3-1. They were over the Detroit Lions, 31-24. Jordan Love started a little inconsistent, but then he threw 4 touchdown passes. What was it, Wilkes, that he kept hitting over and over again, and then Christian Watson hit him deep to break open this game. So, what did you think of the Green Bay Packers in this one? And is the window closing on the Detroit Lions?
I think Green Bay Well, they're once again, they're one of those teams, man. It's a coin flip. You don't know what you're going to get with them. But I will tell you one thing for sure: Detroit, they might be done. They might be cooked right now. Dan Campbell has made a lot of poor choices this year as a head coach, and the loss of Ben Johnson, that's been evident as well with the offense. I think definitely they have issues. If you can control Jameer Gibbs and make Jared Goff trying to beat you, St. Brown also getting banged up didn't help them, and Laporta being out. But at the same time, Detroit is outside looking in, I think, when the playoffs start.
Yes, and if the playoffs started today, yeah, Detroit would not be in. So right now they're in the contender spot. They're 7-5, but they would be number 8. And they have interesting schedule coming up. They have Dallas on Thursday night, huge game. They're at the Rams, Pittsburgh, at Minnesota, who's falling apart. We'll go over them, and then at Chicago to end the season. So not an easy slate for the Detroit Lions. And I do agree with you that Amon-Ra St. Brown injury is going to be big for them. Having only Jamison Williams as their only big time playmaker on the outside is definitely going to affect this team. Laporta's banged up. Gibbs is the engine for this team, and when he's not away from the dome, he kind of plays a little inconsistent. So interesting team, but yeah, I think that over aggressiveness, all those fourth downs and not getting in, and sometimes just take the smart play, Dan Campbell, but he just can't help himself. We'll see what Brad Holmes, the GM, is going to do with this situation at the end of the season. I think Dan Campbell's firmly okay, but last year may have been their apex. 15-2, and then they just lost at home. So we're talking about Week 13 here on Lloyd Vance Insider Football on 102.9 The Game, Coast Sports Digital Network. I'm here with Kevin Midgette. The middle game on Thanksgiving, your Dallas Cowboys. It's interesting, Kevin, because Nate and everybody are like, "All right, Dad, enough with the Chiefs love." You keep saying they're going to win, and they're just not right. Dallas Cowboys now 6-5-1. They beat the Kansas City Chiefs 31-28, and you could see Dak Prescott moving the ball fairly easily on them down the field, hitting George Pickens, hitting C.D. Lamb. They were doing a lot, and it was a struggle for Patrick Mahomes. So what do you think in terms of Cowboys, and has that window closed on the Chiefs? Right now, they would not be in the playoffs. So do you think they're going to turn around or not?
Well, going into that game, I was rooting for the fighting overs, which I got with the 2 point conversion. So thank you, Dallas, for that one. Patrick Mahomes played incredible. If you watch the game, he threw 4 touchdowns. The
Yeah.
one pass he made diving forward, I mean, that guy's giving everything he has out there. He's basically doing on his own. That defense, as soon as he gets him back in the game, boom, they roll back over. Boom, they roll back over. He's doing all he can out there. But yeah, I don't think they make the playoffs this year. I mean, they have to win out and probably need a little help. So yeah, no, I don't think they're making it.
I agree with you. And this may be a season that Andy Reid has to make some adjustments. I think they got to find some more playmakers other than Rasheed Rice on this offense. Travis Kelsey getting a little long in the tooth. This is supposed to be his last dance season, and he looks like it at certain points. He'll make a nice play, and then he'll disappear for 2 quarters. And I think the biggest problem is that offensive line is beat up. Uh, they were missing Justin Simmons in this one. I think Taylor was out as well, so they're missing their starting tackles. And let's face it, Pacheco, I don't know what happened to him. He's just not running the football he was. Kareem Hunt, he is what he is, but he's probably should only be carrying the ball about 5 times a game or so. Mostly in goal line and short yardage situations. So uphill climb for the Kansas City Chiefs. Uh, yeah, I may have to finally admit it and say, okay, they're not making it, and selfishly, though, Mahomes is my fantasy quarterback, and he put up 29 points. I mean, you're right, Kevin. He was he was doing all he could out there. So good win for the Dallas Cowboys. Their stock is up. I'm not firmly ready to say okay, it's their division taking it from the Eagles, but it's a good win for them. The Dallas Cowboys won 3 games in a row. We'll see if they're able to keep it going. They seem to be getting better on defense. With Logan Wilson coming over, Quinton Williams, but they are the Cowboys. Just when you think they're going to turn it around, they'll lose to some team they shouldn't. So good win for them. The nightcap, Kevin, on Thanksgiving. The Cincinnati Bengals, they're now 4-8. They got Joe Burrow back over The Baltimore Ravens is now 6-6, 32-14. This game wasn't even close, in my opinion. What is going on with the Ravens? Were on a 5-game winning streak going in this game. You're like, okay, they were like the Eagles. They're winning, but it really caught up to them. I mean, should Ravens fans be worried?
Absolutely. You had this beer can schedule to knock over to sit there and take over this division, and you can't do it. The turnovers killed them. Isaiah Likely with a great hurdle and then fumbles the ball out of the end zone. It's like you can't do those things. One thing I want to point out though, Lloyd, one thing I noticed from all three games, as they went down, nobody kicks field goals anymore. Nobody. A fourth down, they have to go for it all the time, especially Cincinnati, Kansas City. They're on the road. It's like, take the points. No, everyone's going for them on fourth down. It's insane. It's like,
Yeah,
why do you guys even have kickers?
right. And it's this whole analytics thing, and the best coaches. I know people say I'm old school. Best coaches take the points when you can. Just take the points and then go from there. And shorten the game. You know what I mean? So, but going for it on fourth down, all you got to do is look at the Lions. Campbell, he's like 0-5, and he's just like, I'm doing it. And they got a good kicker, Bates. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why not give him his opportunities? But yeah, I just think guys are over aggressive, and it's this analytics, younger coach dynamic. But I doubt you'll ever see like a Pete Carroll or somebody like that do it. But I think eventually they're going to have to start moving back. Okay, kick the field goal and move from there. The other thing I want to ask you about in terms of scoring in the Eagles game, they went for two, probably when they shouldn't have, and then they were down 9 points, and then it's a two-possession game. Why not kick the extra point and instead of going for the two and not getting it? So, what is your thinking there?
I think it was a horrible call. I think it was a horrible move. I mean, there's no way to sugarcoat it. Why are you taking yourself out of the game this early? You let the game play out. You don't have to sit there and rush it right away. And it was just horrible. It's like, I don't know what, for the fact that you don't even get it, but the game's still going on, you've just deflated your team that scored a touchdown and maybe had some momentum going. Why not sit there and build on that and see what they can do? Terrible call by Sirianni.
Yes, and all the older coaches I talked to, they were like, "Don't chase the points. Go for two when you have to." You know what I mean? And they should have he put the pressure on the Bears and said, "Okay, touchdown, extra point. Now we're in one position." And then who knows once you go for two, and we'll talk about later the Denver Washington game how that worked out. Somebody going for two. I'm always of the mind get the points when you can. Don't chase it. Oh, well, if I go for two, I can make it, theoretically, I'll make it a 9-point game. No, no. Just get the points when you can and then just go from there. But some of these coaches, they just sometimes they don't have any conscience. They're just like, all right, hell be damned, I'm going to do this and bang my head against a brick wall. Like Campbell, like that Eagles game, I was like, okay, you didn't get it the first three times. What the hell are you doing the next couple times going for him fourth down? But he was like, nope, nope, and it bit him right in the butt. So, yeah, I agree with you that over aggressiveness around the National Football League and the way these kickers are, why not take the points? Now, Andy Reid, you see him quite often. He sends Butker out there. He's like, all right, I may be down 7-6, but I still got some points on the board. I'm getting momentum. So, yeah, I agree with you there. We're here on Lloyd Vance Insider Football on 109 The Game, Coast Sports Digital Network, recapping Week 13. The Ravens, the only reason that you got to worry about them or say, okay, they still have a chance is they're in such a bad division in the AFC North that they still may win that division and get in the playoffs. So I was looking at the standings in the AFC North, and a big thing is divisional record. So the Ravens are in first right now, 6-6, but they have a 2-1 record in division. The Steelers 6-6, 2-1 in division. So they lost the head-to-head tiebreaker. The Bengals, as crazy as this may sound, Kevin, 4-8, 3-1 in division. Could the Bengals surprise everybody and win this division? And Burrow looked pretty good, man. He was getting that ball out of his hands. The defense had some teeth. The Bengals, he's their elixir.
Oh, there's no doubt. The thing is, the defense has played better. I mean, they had to have played better. They were like so bad and atrocious. The last 2 weeks against New England, now against Baltimore, they've shown some improvement on that. If they just would have won one, not even both of the games they choked against the Jets, and I forget the other one, it was just such bad losses, man. You would have Joe Burrow coming back into a division he can win. Right now, they're going to be the classic Cincinnati Bengals. They're going to be a game or two out of the playoffs with like a week or two to go, and they're going to miss it just by that much. That's because of the Bengals, and Bengals got a Bengal.
Yeah, yeah, and that first quarterback that they brought in, their backup before Flacco, he was just terrible. I'm trying, I'm blanking on his name, but he was terrible. And if he had just done his job and they could have won a couple games ugly, they'd still be in the mix. But yes, at 4-8, their season's pretty much over. It's on life sport, but they're going to be a spoiler down the stretch. So the Bengals, good win for them. Burrow, good to see him out there. A lot of quarterbacks may have shut it down for the rest of the season, but he wanted to be out there with his teammates. Did a nice job. Black Friday game, we're not going to go over that mess again. We beat it to death. The Philadelphia Eagles should have probably gotten it done. Lose 24-15 to the Chicago Bears. The Bears in the driver's seat. We'll see how they do. Kale Williams didn't do much, nothing special, but I think in the next couple weeks we're really going to find out about the Chicago Bears at Green Bay, Cleveland, which is a very good defense, Green Bay at San Francisco, Detroit. Sunday, the San Francisco 49ers now 9-4. They beat the Cleveland Browns 26-8. This was Shador's second start. Nate was like, "Yeah, Shador, I told you. I think I'm gonna pick him up in fantasy." I said, "Yeah, go ahead and do that." you know, and the Niners defense was stingy. They did a good job in terms of limiting what the Browns would do. Uh, Two very important turnovers in this game that the Niners got, and McCaffrey was not spectacular, but he was solid, and Purdy as well. What do you think from both sides of this game? Are the Niners they're going to enter the playoff mix, and what do you think about the Browns?
Well, the Browns stink. I'm not going to try to sugarcoat that. They have a decent defense. Miles Garrett gets his sacks. That's about it. But San Francisco, was it 9-4, and they're the 7 seed right now?
Yes.
I mean, that's a tough division, man. To sit there and have to deal with Seattle and the Rams in that division. And I mean, it's the best division in football, I believe. And San Francisco, with all their injuries, you have to give them credit. They still keep going forward. They keep winning. They're putting pressure on other teams. So, yeah, I'm impressed.
Yeah, the Niners, good solid win for them. They have their late bye, which is next week, and then they have Tennessee, which is very favorable for them at Indianapolis, Chicago, and Seattle. So the Niners, they're going to need Purdy to play well, but they're looking like they're in good position to get in the playoffs. So at 9-4, good win for them, as I said. The Browns are going to be tough, and Miles Garrett's probably going to break that sack record. So just beating them, getting a win is big enough. So, oh, Shador Sanders, is he going to start the rest of the way? Is he done enough, Kevin?
I think you just play them. You know why? Because it's twofold. One, the fan base wants him. They bought the jerseys and merchandise and everything else. Let him play. Two, if he does play and he stinks, you don't have to hear about any of this next year going into the season. Start Shadur. Shadur should have played more. It's like let him play. If anything, the kid learns a little bit on the job. But at the same time, you can also help. Appease your fan base by making them shut up at the same time if he doesn't perform.
Yeah, and the big thing is, who else do you have? I mean, Dylan Gabriel, they know they know what he can do. Just give Shore his opportunity. I mean, Stefanski, I think, is going to come back anyway. So see if he can play. He had some nice plays. He has a little rapport with Bond. I like the way he's hitting him deep. But yeah, Shador makes some mistakes here and there with the football. He is a rookie. So solid win for the Niners. Jacksonville Jaguars now 8-4. They crushed the Tennessee Titans 25-3. They covered a 6.5. Jacksonville. Forget about the game. Is Trevor Lawrence for real? I mean, is he a guy that's going to carry a team, or Jaguars going to be that team that I think they're going to be? Lloyd Vance thinks they're going to collapse at the end. So, what do you think, Kevin?
Uh, If history showed me anything, is that the Jaguars will collapse. But I mean, he's stringing together some work right now, and it's like they're the kind of team that could win one playoff game, maybe. Sit there and get in, and play someone of the same caliber of themselves. Someone who's another team that's up and down. So yeah, they could do that because I believe they beat the Chargers a few years back in a game like that in the playoffs, and I mean, they're not going to stand out. I don't think they're making a run, but what do I know? I mean, the two top teams right now are Denver and New England with second year quarterbacks. So why not Jacksonville make a run?
Yeah, it's crazy because I always think of Blake Bortles, and they almost beat the Patriots. Some people say they did. They would have played the Eagles in the Super Bowl in 2017, but we'll see. The Jaguars, they just keep stacking W's, like Kevin was saying. Uh, 8-4 right now. They'd be the number 3 seed. They have quality wins over Kansas City week 5, week 5, and the Chargers in week 11. So we'll see. They have Indianapolis, huge divisional game coming up. The Jets at Denver, at Indianapolis, Tennessee. So I think those two divisional games against the Colts are going to tell us everything we need to know about the Jaguars and if Trevor Lawrence is for real. He tended has not lived up to that number one overall quarterback standing, but we'll see. They dominated over Tennessee as they should. This next game I wanted to get your takes on. Pretty interesting. The Houston Texans, they've kind of turned around their season, Kevin. And I was a little like, oh, I'm iffy because Davis Mills they were playing okay with him. Now CJ Stroud came back, but the Texans now 7-5. They beat the Indianapolis Colts, who are 8-4, 20-6. Who should fans be buying stock in now more, the Texans or the Colts?
I would say the Texans right now with that defense, you don't have to score 30 points to win a game. You can score 20 points to win a game. They held Jonathan Taylor to just over 80 yards. No one's really done that all year. They contained him. And that the way that defense is just running around right now, yeah, they're a scary team. I'll put it that way. They're a team you don't want to play in the postseason if they make it because they're going to make it ugly. And if it's an ugly game, it's a winnable game.
Yes, and Woody Marks he got it through a foot injury for them, and I know Nate was very happy because Nico Collins is his guy. Nico Collins had a very good game. He ran for a touchdown, he caught one, and he seems to be getting back in rhythm. So I agree with you. If their offense can stay healthy just a little bit, and make some plays, they're going to be a quality team because their defense is very good. So yeah, the Texans are a team you definitely got to keep your eye on. Now, in terms of the Colts, Daniel Jones, all us folks that were NFC East people watching for years were going to say, oh, he's going to revert back. And now he has a broken bone in his ankle, I believe, and he's still playing through it. Is Daniel Jones going to make it through? And what do you think about him at this time of the season?
I mean, you never want to see anybody with an injury. I'll give him credit for gutting through it, trying to play through it. But he didn't have that much wiggle room to begin with his talent level. I mean, it was a nice story there for the first part of the season. They didn't have a lot of room to play with there. So with him with an injury, I see them starting to spiral downwards now. It's like it was a nice story for a little bit, but now you're going to see Jacksonville and Houston maybe swallow them up.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because Indianapolis remaining schedule at Jacksonville, at Seattle, Niners, Jacksonville, at Houston. So that is a juggernaut of a schedule there.
That's
And Daniel
brutal.
Jones, you're right. Teams are going to load the box and say, "All right, John Taylor, you're not going to beat us." And Daniel Jones not going to drive the football down the field. Yes, Tyler Warren is a nice weapon. He's a little banged up. He was a little sick this week, had an illness. And then you have Pittman, but they are going to need somebody else other than Jonathan Taylor to make some plays. So we'll watch the Colts there. It's funny because a couple weeks ago, they're the best team in football. Well, not so fast, my friend. So good win for the Texans. And yeah, I'm going to keep my eye on the Texans, seeing how they do. CJ Stroud, if he's going to be healthy, because they're a fun team to watch. So good win for them. His next game was kind of like kind of a slog, like oh boy. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers hold on. They're now 7-5. They beat the Arizona Cardinals 20-17. It was one of them games like, oh man, is this over yet? The Bucks were just trying to end a three-game skid, and they get a narrow victory over the Cardinals, who still have Jacoby Brissett at quarterback.
Yeah, there was like zero interest. It's bad when you don't put it on a parlay or anything else either. It's like I have no desire to even want to have to pay attention to this game right now. Tampa Bay needed that win though. After that murderer's row of New England, Buffalo, and the Rams, they needed to get a W to get back in the win column. And it should still be their division to win, but we'll see. But they definitely need it for their self esteem and moving forward.
Yeah, they did, and I know my son Braden was happy because his guy Bucky Irving was back. He finally got to play and he was healthy. And then for me, conversely, I had Michael Wilson and he finally crashed back down to earth. He only got about 6 points or so, and I guess his career as a big time fantasy football receiver is over. So, but good quality win for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're another team. They're probably going to make the playoffs and win that awful NFC South, but I don't see them doing much in the playoffs because they're very injured. They are supposed to get Mike Evans back, but they've just had a lot of injuries decimate them on defense all season. So good win for them. They're finally on the winning side. This next game, Kevin, I only watched it because you were saying that you got to have a reason to watch a game, and this was I'm helping my one friend with a survivor pool. I said, all right, well, the Dolphins are going to beat the Saints. I said, take it. And man, was I getting calls and texts like, what in the world's going on here? The Dolphins take a big lead, and then the Saints come back on them. They get an onside kick, and it comes down to what I think a 2-point conversion or something, or like something like that. And the Dolphins finally put them away, 21-17. But the Dolphins are terrible. They had a 16-point lead in this game, and they almost let the Saints come back on them.
Yeah, I had the Dolphins in that one. I am that much of a gambler. I touched that game. But yeah, it wasn't a pretty game. I needed Olave for a touchdown. He got me that as well. If New Orleans was actually coming back on, I'm like, you don't want to win. Slow down. Keep your draft pick where it's at. And that's what it's starting to come down to. It's like, all right, you can play close. Don't win the game, though.
Yeah, and Gail Benson, their owner, she's already come out and said Mickey Loomis, the GM, who's been there forever, he's coming back. So Kellen Moore, he's in his first season. They're not getting rid of them. There's really no point in winning these games, but to their credit, they fought to the end, and Miami was trying to hand them that game at the end. They kind of put it on cruise control, and next thing you know, the Saints and Tyler Shuck are trying to win the game. So good win for the Dolphins. Dolphins now 5-7. Do you think they can get in the playoff mix? Have they saved McDaniel's job? Let's start there.
No and no. I'll leave it at that.
Nice.
No, they can't. They're not going to make the playoffs, and no, I don't think they save McDaniel's job unless they win out or something, incredible like that. I think the writing's on the wall with him.
Yeah, I think he just has not been the genius that he was supposed to be when they first signed him, and he's one of McVay's disciples. But I think in the end, yeah, I think Dolphins will probably be looking to make a lot of wholesale changes this off season. Good win for them. We'll see how they go down the rest of the season. This next game, I'll just talk about it for one reason. Did you think Nick Folk was making that 56-yard field goal to win it for the Jets over the Falcons? I mean, it was like a knuckleball line drive kick. He got it through to win the game for the Jets over the Falcons, 27-24.
Absolutely not. I thought he had no shot at making that kick, so it went through. Good for the Jets. They're still trying to compete, I guess. Atlanta though is the bigger story. I think is how bad they are. It's like Bijan Robinson or bust. And that's all it is. You got the big expensive backup quarterback. You got the first round pick quarterback who's not playing. Drake London's banged up. And it's just like what could have been for that team this year. It's just a really bad season.
Yeah, I agree with you. From the Falcons standpoint, you're probably going to see Raheem Morris on an unemployment line. The team is underachieved, and I think Arthur Blank kind of has probably seen enough, and yeah, they're just too inconsistent. And you can see Kirk Cousins, he's done. So he's trying to finish out the string. Bijan Robinson, he's still putting up his fantasy football points, but there's just not much else there. And the defense needs a total overhaul. There's just no. They have Jesse Bates running around. They do have two young pass rushers they got in the draft, but not much else to build around. So the Falcons, tough loss for them. And as you said with the Jets, what are you doing? What are you winning games for? But I guess they want to fight for Aaron Glenn. I never thought Aaron Glenn was in trouble. I don't think he's going to be one and done. I think Woody Johnson keeps him around. So good win for the Jets there, and a very strong kick for Nick Folk, 56-yarder into the wind in MetLife. That's not an easy thing to do. Carolina Panthers, this was the shocker of the week. We talked last week, and I'm like, oh, the Rams, just hand them they're going to be in what, the Niner Stadium for the Super Bowl. Just mark them down. And the Carolina Panthers, this was crazy. This shows you the parity around the National Football League. They beat the Los Angeles Rams 31-28. The Rams were a 11-point road favorite in this one, Kevin. Did you see this coming? And Stafford, everybody said he was MVP. He had 3 turnovers, including that crucial strip sack at the end.
There's a couple things. I did take Carolina with the points. I even teased it up to 13 and a
Wow.
half just in case. There was a couple things I saw. That game was the first time that the Rams have played out of the state of California since October 19th when they played in London. They have not left California. They had to go, across the country. Carolina had some ridiculous thing after a loss, point spread, blah, blah, blah. It was enough where I was reading it. It was like, oh, this makes sense. Okay, yeah, sure, I'll put money on this.
Mhm.
So that part hit right there. Matt Stafford going to that game, 30 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Something's got to come down at some point. It just had like letdown game. Did I think Carolina was going to win? No, but it just had a little bit of a letdown vibe to it.
Yeah, and you talking about beware that home dog. I mean, yeah, I would have taken that 11 points too. And you know, Carolina, Bryce Young, he played pretty well in this game, and Dowdle did not. But it was a rebirth of Chuba Hubbard. Everybody knows I have Dowdle on my team, and I was like, what is going on here? Chuba Hubbard, I thought he was done. And then I also have Ted McMillan. He was quiet the whole game, Kevin, and the boys were laughing at me, and out of nowhere, I see the score change and for him. And I was like, oh, one catch, 43-yard touchdown to the house. I mean, it made his day. I think he ended up with like 12, 13 points because of it.
Yeah, the thing I saw, it was funny, just the fantasy purposes. Man, I'm starting to get smoked, and I'm like, oh, come on, somebody do something. Within a span of like 15 minutes of real time, Olave, McMillan, and Warren all scored touchdowns on my team. I was like, all right, there we go. Now we feel better. So yeah, Ted
Nice.
McMillan, I was glad to see him come off the milk carton.
Yeah, that was interesting. The Carolina Panthers are not in yet, but they're 7-6, and they're that sneaky team. So in looking at their schedule, they have that late bye, so they'll be off this upcoming week. Then they're at New Orleans, Tampa Bay, Seattle, at Tampa Bay. So those 2 games against Tampa Bay are going to decide that NFC South division.
And it's good too because no one expected Carolina to be doing that this year. So it's nice to get some new blood in there. See some young guys start to step up a little bit. So yeah, I'm happy seeing Carolina making this progression.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see how Tampa Bay does because they're very beat up, particularly Baker Mayfield. His non-throwing shoulders banged up. We talked about Bucky Irvin coming back to running back position, but they still have a lot of injuries on their defense. So that should be some interesting games, and we'll see which Bryce Young shows up. But he was ready this week. The Seattle Seahawks now 9-3. I mean, not much to talk about here. They just dominate the Minnesota Vikings 26-0. They cover the 11 and a half. I guess the story of the game is Max Brosner, the backup rookie quarterback, undrafted free agent from New Hampshire and Minnesota as well. Sacked 4 times. He had 5 turnovers in the game. He was just god awful. I mean, what can you take from this from both sides?
The one thing without being too negative I can say is Seattle beats up on teams they should beat up on. It's one of those. It's like it's a bad team. Let's roll them and get it over with. The one thing that's standing out from us, maybe even saying Seattle's the best team in the NFC, is that clunker that Darnold had against the Rams. Even if that's more of a competitive game, I mean, the score was actually close, but he threw 4 picks in that game. They still got to play each other again in Seattle. Seattle, they're tough. It's like they can sit there, they can run the ball. Darnold's doing a good job throwing the ball for the most part. So yeah, they're in the mix of teams that can go to the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, and right now, Kevin, they'd be number 5 if the playoffs started today at 9-3. And if you look at their schedule, not bad. They're at Atlanta, Indianapolis. They have the Rams at Carolina, at San Francisco. So we're really going to find out about them. But I do like the mix that Mike McDaniel does have in terms of his team because they can run the football effectively. JSN, who didn't help me this week, by the way, he only had 2 catches, but he's just dominant. I mean, he'll still probably get 2K for the season. And obviously, as you said, was Darnold has got to be that guy. He can't turn the football over, and he played pretty well this week. So going to keep an eye on the Seattle Seahawks. Their defense is very opportunistic too, and has some nice players on it. You're here on Lloyd Vance Insider Football on 102.9 The Game, Coast Sports Digital Network. I'm here with Kevin Midgette. This game was like, it looked cold. It was a mess out there, and I know Nate, our resident Bills fan, he was the first half. He was like, "What is going on here?" Because it was 7-3 halftime deficit. But then Josh Allen woke up, put the Superman cape on, got some touchdown throws, started running the football. The Bills beat the Steelers 26-7 in Pittsburgh.
It's a game Buffalo needed. Buffalo could not afford to lose that game, and they haven't played well pretty much the last month. So if they would have dropped that game right there, I mean, you start to look at Buffalo turning into Kansas City at that point. But they came back in the second half. They played strong. They won the game. Pittsburgh is fading, and that's the only thing that's keeping Baltimore in the playoff race is the fact that Pittsburgh and Aaron Rodgers can't do anything as well.
Yeah, Rodgers, his non-throwing wrist is broken. He basically had a half a cast on his arm. He looks like he's done, Kevin.
Oh yeah.
And Mason Rudolph's terrible. I mean, the Steelers are just limping home. I think it could be Mike Tomlin's first losing season. It really could, the way this team's playing. I know that's always a discussion point, but where do these two teams go? Is Buffalo back? Like if the playoffs started today, they'd be number 7, so they'd have to go on the road. And they've had trouble on the road this season. They lost at Atlanta, they lost at Houston. Um, but first, where do you see the Bills?
The Bills have one thing working in their advantage. They're familiar with the playoffs. They're familiar with big games. So if they get into the playoffs, do you really want Buffalo coming to your home stadium? I know I wouldn't. Give me some first year team that just got in, doesn't know what to do with themselves. So that's where Buffalo becomes dangerous. Pittsburgh, on the other hand, 3 more wins. 3 more wins to get over 500. Come on. I know you got it in you, Pittsburgh. 3 more.
Yeah, they'll be leaning on Jalen Warren and then running the football on that defense, with Highsmith and Watt. But it's going to be a struggle because when you watch them, it's like there's just no continuity to them. I know they say they're physical, but they're not running the ball. The Steelers have always run the football, and on defense, yeah, they get some pressure rushing the passer, but they're not stopping the run at all. I mean, Cam Hayward was getting run over in this game. James Cook had a very good game for the Buffalo Bills. The Bills, they have Cincinnati, at New England, at Cleveland, Philadelphia, and then the Jets to close it out. So I think they're not going to catch the New England Patriots, but they will be in the playoff mix. And as you said, they could be a dangerous road team. I've been saying to Nate over and over again. Look, if the Chiefs don't make it, now it could be the Bills' year. No Chiefs in this thing. Maybe they'll finally step forward. So good win for them. Josh Allen firmly in the MVP race because he's got to carry this team. And unfortunately, other than him and Cook, they have got to find some other playmakers. But good quality win for them. The Los Angeles Chargers. This was interesting because the Eagles are going to play them next. They just dominated the Raiders are getting it right, Kevin. You're talking about lose, lose baby lose. Try to get a good draft pick and possibly one of these young quarterbacks out there. But the Chargers dominate the Raiders, 31-14. The only thing is Justin Herbert. He, I think he broke a bone or something in his non-throwing hand. So where do you see the Chargers going from here? If the playoffs started today, the Chargers would be the number 5 seed in the AFC. That's pending tonight's game, of course. But what do you think about the Chargers?
The Chargers might be the one team in the NFL. I can't tell you what the hell they're doing. I really don't know from week to week how the Chargers are going to play. And I don't think they know as well. And it's one of those, I wouldn't, from a betting standpoint, I wouldn't touch them if I was anybody. But at the same time, it's like you don't know what you're going to get with them. And until they figure it out, it's a week by week kind of thing.
Yeah, and the crazy thing was they were a 10-point favorite against the Raiders, and a lot of people were like maybe take the Raiders in points because, as you were saying, you just don't know. Vidal had a pretty good game for them, and they're waiting for their other Hampton, their other running back, to come back. I think this week versus Philadelphia Eagles, but big game for them coming up against the Eagles, and it'll be interesting to see about Herbert and that injury because they just ran the football and closed the game out once he got hurt. But the Eagles defense is going to be attacking and coming after him, so good win for them. The Sunday nighter, this was crazy. Yes, you had the Broncos coming east, playing in Washington. Everybody said, "All right, Washington's another one of them teams. Their season's pretty much over. Maybe Jane Daniels will come back." I know you and I debated last week whether he should even play or not. But the Broncos get it done, 27-6 in overtime. Now they could have kicked the 1 pointer and tied the game, and we'll see from there. But they went for two, and they missed a throw. You know what I mean? Mariota couldn't get over Nick Bonito's hands because the guy was wide open, and Denver holds on again. They're 10-2. Depending New England's game tonight, Denver right now is in the number one seed spot. What do you think about Denver? I just think they're kind of holding on. I'm just not ready to buy fully into their stocks, especially offensively.
I think they're overachieving. I think their defense, besides this past Sunday, I should say, their defense has been keeping them in games where Bo Nix just needs to make a play here or there, to get them going. They had Harvey going this past game though; he had 2 touchdowns. So to get the young back in there, it's starting to display something. The one thing as much as I beat on, take the points. If you're a losing team, though, see, there's an amendment to this. If you're a losing team and you got a chance to win a game in overtime, go for the two. And I get that for Washington, so I'm not going to beat on them for that. But Denver, I take them with a little grain of salt here what they're doing.
Yes, they're winning a lot of close games, Kevin, and I just think it's a matter of time. Like when the season comes down to these key late December, January games, I just think they got to give more. You know what I mean? We'll see in terms of the running back position. No J.K. Dobbs with that foot injury; he's out for the rest of the season. R.J. Harvey, he's a nice two-way back, but does he run with that forward lean? Their offensive line is very good. Their defense is extremely well, number 2 in the NFL in terms of sacks. So Vance Joseph in that defense doing a great job. Sean Payton, that veteran coach, but I just I just don't think they're going to. Some people are saying, "Oh, Super Bowl." I don't think. I'm not. I don't think they're a Super Bowl team. Uh, Denver, we'll see at Las Vegas. That's probably going to be a win. Then they have Green Bay, Jacksonville, at Kansas City. We'll see if they have any teeth left in that one. Mahomes and Andy Reid, and then they finish with the Chargers. So a lot of divisional games for them, and we'll see how they go because the Broncos are 2-1 in that division. The Chargers are 4-0 in the AFC West, so you got to always keep that in mind. The Chiefs trying to hang around 6-6, 1-2 in the division, and then the poor Raiders at 2-10. Uh, does Pete Carroll survive? Is he going to be back for next season?
Does he want to? That's the thing. It's like if you're Pete Carroll, he's getting a little, older in life. It's like, do I want to subject myself on this planet the time I have left to be around the Raiders one more year? So I think that's the first question. He should probably say no. And I think Davis is one of those guys. He gets bored quickly. You get one shot, and it's like, all right, let's move on to the next guy. So I wouldn't be shocked at all if they moved on.
Yeah, they'll probably have a new coach, and who knows it's going to be because they're a mess. Geno Smith, I think he's tied for the lead in NFL. He's been sacked probably the most, but also interceptions. I think he has over 14 interceptions, and he's he's not the same guy. I know he had that magic carpet ride with the Seattle Seahawks, but he's not a frontline quarterback anymore. But who else are they going to put in there? Ashton Denty, in terms of fantasy, he's been a disappointment. Kevin, everybody thought he was going to come in and be that guy that he was in college. You just see the learning curve in terms of them, and their offensive line is not that good. So Raiders nowhere to go but up, but good hang on win for the Commanders. I hear the Commanders are putting Jaden Daniels out there this upcoming week, and we'll talk about the game in a minute. But is that the right thing to do, or should they just shut him down?
We talked about it last week, and it's like, nah, that kid shouldn't be on the field the rest of the season. They have nothing to gain, nothing to prove. Everything you're going to do is get that guy banged up.
I agree with
So, I
you.
mean, with the health history that they've had at the quarterback position, I'd err on the side of caution.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what Dan Quinn does, and he's not afraid of losing his job. I think he's firmly entrenched there. Adam Peters, the GM, as well. So they'll probably put him out there. We'll see how it goes. We're here on Lloyd Vance's Insider Football on 1029 The Game, Coast Sports Digital Network. I'm here with Kevin Midgette. We're coming down the stretch of the show. We're going to get to everybody's favorite thing. We're going to give out our game balls and lackey. All right, I'll go lackey first, and I'll take the layup. And I was immediately called a hater on another show when I gave out the lackey, but I gave it to the Eagles, and I'm putting it right on head coach Nick Sirianni. I mean, that was an awful loss at home, 24-15. You're a heavy 7-point favorite to the Bears. The Eagles have one of their biggest problems: 7 penalties in a game. They had 2 turnovers, 1 interception, one push fumble, and these are the biggest stats that really call out why they should be lackey. 281 rushing yards allowed, eighth most in team history, 421 total yards. And then the Bears were 10 of 17 on third down, and the Eagles were only 4 of 12. So I could go on and on. I'll give the lackey to Nick Sirianni. The buck stops with him. He's got to clean this thing up.
That's a good one, Lloyd. I'm going to go a little further down I 95 South, and I'm going to go to the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson. Lamar
Oh,
Jackson doesn't seem right. I don't know how banged up he is. At the same time, you can't sit there, throw an interception, fumble twice. You can't have 3 turnovers in a game against the Cincinnati Bengals that you need to win that division. This we've talked about before. If Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson does not get to the Super Bowl this year, when are they going to do it without the Kansas City Chiefs being the Kansas City Chiefs? Lamar Jackson needed to take control of that game. I mean, it wasn't his fault. Isaiah Likely's a moron, but at the same time, you can't turn the ball over. You need to win that game.
I agree with you. That was an ugly watch, and the whole time because my son Braden, that's his fantasy quarterback. He was beside himself. He has Zay Flowers too. I don't even think got a full point. I mean, it was just an ugly effort by the Ravens, and you start scratching your head. You wonder, like, all right, are they going to be able to do this thing? Because it looks like maybe a lost season. They lose 32-14 to Cincinnati, and they look disinterested at times. So I agree with you. And Derrick Henry's not running the football the way he was. Take some of the pressure off of Lamar Jackson. That's a good lackey. I also throw out Max Brosmer, Vikings undrafted rookie quarterback. I mean, he's terrible. 5 turnovers and was sacked 4 times for the poor Vikings in that shutout loss to Seahawks. So he gets dishonorable mention. All right, Kevin, I'll let you go game ball winner first.
Game ball winner. Conversely, Lloyd, great minds think alike because my game ball goes to the Chicago Bears offensive line, producing over 280 yards rushing against a Philadelphia Eagles defensive line that made them look like the old Washington Redskins hogs. It was unbelievable how they were just treating the Eagles defense like Swiss cheese, gashing them and shoving the ball right down their throat. It was impressive performance by that offensive line, and they do get my game ball.
Yeah, that's a good choice. And it gave a lot of Eagles fans indigestion from their leftovers. But
Mm-mm.
hey, it is what it is. They stop them. You know what I mean? I couldn't believe it. I'm watching. I was like, man, this reminds me of the old days when the Eagles were struggling, with Emmett Smith and that Dallas offensive line at their peak, and they were just running the football down the Eagles' throat. But 281 yards, eighth most allowed in Eagles history. So that just tells you everything you need to know. Great effort by Kyle Monange and DeAndre Swift running the football on that line. My game ball winner, I gave it to Bryce Young. I mean, what unexpected. Great effort by him. 15 to 20, which is 75%, 206 yards, which is not a lot of yards, but 3 TDs, no interceptions, ran the ball 5 times for 23 yards, put up a nice fantasy football line at 22 and a half. I mean, but he did it against the Rams that were supposed to be the number one team. And let the big storyline in this game too, Kevin, was, and we didn't talk about it, it was rainy and cold out there. And he protected the football, and Matthew Stafford, who had 3 turnovers, didn't. So big game for Bryce Young. Gets my game ball. Had that huge 43-yard go-ahead TD to Ted McMillan. The Panthers now 7-6, and they get their bye. So, and then they come out and they play the Saints. And if he is a true game ball winner, he better not lose to them, because the
Yeah.
Panthers being inconsistent. But this week he was on. You got to hand it to him. So he's my game ball winner. And then also, I'll give a shout out to Jordan Love, 4 TDs on Thanksgiving. That was a great one. And CD Lamb, you held the ball, this week, 7 receptions, 112 for a touchdown. I'll call him out for Dallas Cowboys. So those are game ball winners and lackeys for week 13 around the National Football League. Coming down the home stretch here, Lloyd Vance Insider Football with Kevin Midgette, 1029 The Game. Coast Sports Digital Network. All right, for week 14, no lines involved. We're just going to debate the game a little bit. Thursday night, you have the Dallas Cowboys at the Detroit Lions. I've been kind of back and forth in this one because Dak, even though they're on a 3-game winning streak, the Cowboys are just so inconsistent. And the Lions really need this game. I'm going to go with the Lions. It may be close. I think it's Jahmyr Gibbs that breaks this game open. So I'll go with the Lions in a close one.
Without knowing the line, of course, I'm going with the fighting overs as usually I will take in that game, but Detroit wins this game. If not, they're done for the season. Detroit needs this one more than Dallas.
All right, and I'll jump around here. The Indianapolis Colts are at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Huge AFC South game. We talked about the Colts, how they came up a little short against the Texans, and the Jaguars seem to be stringing W's together, but I'm not buying their stock. I think the Colts are going to pull it together. You're going to see a lot of Jonathan Taylor in this game. Alec Pierce off of some play action. And then the Colts defense is sneaky good. Uh, I think they beat the Jaguars, and you're going to see Trevor Lawrence make some mistakes.
I agree with you. I think logic would tell you Jacksonville's playing well, the Colts are playing poorly. Take Jacksonville. Oh, no, no, no. Not in this year's NFL. This is when the Colts come and win this game and beat Jacksonville. So I'm going to be with you with the Colts on this one.
All right. Let's jump around. It's a huge AFC North battle. And the Baltimore area well. This is going to be, Steelers and the Baltimore fans will be probably fighting each other all around uh, northern Maryland area. Steelers, Aaron Rodgers, very beat up. They have not been running the ball effectively, but they're going against the Ravens, who have not blocking anybody. Been back and forth in this one. I think Highsmith and Watt get home, but I think Lamar Jackson finds a way at home. You may see a lot of Derrick Henry in this one to get a W. Maybe Kyle Hamilton with a pick six or something like that.
This game has ugly written all over it. I'm going to go with the under and a tie. I'm calling a tie. That's how bad it's going to be.
All right, we'll see. The Chicago Bears at the Green Bay Packers. I think good Jordan Love shows up. I'm still not fully convinced that the Bears are, even they've won all these games in a row, that they can go on the road and win a tough divisional battle. It's probably going to be cold out there. They're not going to run the ball like they did against the Eagles. I think Green Bay wins this one. Expect a lot of Michael Parsons.
We're on the same page this week, Lloyd. I like Green Bay with this one. Chicago, they haven't been in this situation where they know what to do after putting these W's together. Because some time here, you're going to look and be like, "Wow, look at our the press clippings and everything else," and it's like Green Bay's going to come and sneak them on this one. I don't even know if they're sneaking them. I just like they're just both around the same level, and I think Green Bay just takes care of business.
Yeah, and if you remember, the Bears have had a lot of difficulty in Green Bay going back to the Aaron Rodgers days. So That one's going to be interesting. Last game we'll talk about next Monday. I think the Eagles get right. The Chargers still are kind of leaking a little oil. Their defense is kind of beat up. Offensive line beat up. I think the Eagles get pressure on Herbert, who's injured, and then they have a good running game on that fast track. The Eagles win this one against the Chargers.
I tell you what, if the Eagles don't win this one, it's going to be some rough going there in the Delco Valley and everywhere else. So, I mean, yeah, I would pick the Eagles to win this game. Once again, the Chargers are just like Jacksonville, Indianapolis, all the Green Bay, Detroit, all these coin flip teams, you know. So I think this time it swings the Eagles' way and they pull out the W.
All right, another great week here on Lloyd Vance Insider Football on 1029 The Game, Coast Sports Digital Network. Thanks for Kevin for joining as usual. Duncan, you did a great job behind the glass, and enjoy the football. Stay warm, everybody. We're probably going to get some snow in the northeast area, so hang in there, and we will talk to you next week here at Lloyd Vance's Insider Football on 1029 The Game, Coast Sports Digital Network.